I'm Timothy McCall. I'm a physician and a yoga therapist. If you want to learn more about my background, you can check out my webpage or look to a brief introduction I give to myself in the Yoga as Medicine Level 1 video. This course, Reimagining Yoga Anatomy, really comes out of my own experience of practicing and teaching asana and having moved away from the way I was taught and practiced for many years, which is a kind of hard, striving, achievement-oriented yoga where I tended to do harder and harder poses, where I gave a lot of effort, where I didn't focus as deeply on my breath as I do now, where I was more interested in directing the way I practiced rather than the kind of more receptive way where we rely on our body's intelligence that I'll be teaching in this course. One of the principles of this course is the notion that your body has an inner intelligence. This, of course, comes from yoga's teaching, and that inner intelligence often knows better than your mind, than your brain, how to practice yoga poses. So we want to learn to tap into that inner intelligence and the way that inner intelligence is reflected in our breath, and use the breath as a barometer to guide our practice, to help us facilitate the movement of energy, of prana throughout the body in our poses. Now, I, like a lot of people who studied anatomy, starting in medical school, later in yoga teacher trainings of various kinds that I've had over the years, learned what I call reductionist yoga anatomy, learning about where the muscles are, which muscle originates in which place and where does it attach and what actions does it have on various joints, one at a time, kind of understanding of the small parts. Similarly, many of the instructions that I was given in yoga classes revolved around tuning in to fine details of small parts of the body. What was the upper inner femur bone doing in a pose? What is happening with the pubic bone? For example, these small parts of bones, or contracting a particular muscle to try to get a different action. Now, that style of yoga works. I enjoyed it for many years. It took me to great places in my practice, but I've come to believe that a softer, more receptive style of yoga practice, more based on really grounding yourself in the breath, really noticing the way the different small parts of the anatomy interconnect to each other. So that's why I call what I do holistic yoga anatomy. Each pose being more like a suspension bridge or a geodesic dome where the different parts are all interconnected, that if you neglect any one part of the body in a pose, the entire rest of the pose is going to suffer. So it's really about interconnections, about chaining through the myofascia, the connective tissue in the body. It's about understanding how certain shapes, like domes and arches, have inherent biomechanical advantages that we want to take advantage of. It's about how over-efforting often interferes with what we're trying to do on our yoga mats. We'll practice a bunch of yoga. We'll spend some time looking and cultivating our ability to see bodies better, and we'll understand these more holistic principles coming from the study of fascia, coming from the study of what's sometimes called tensegrity or biotensegrity, which is this model of the way forces are distributed throughout the body that I believe is a much better model than the strictly Newtonian physics of looking at joints as levers and then muscles acting on these levers and all that. Some value in that. I'm not dismissing it. I studied that stuff for years. It still informs what I do. But I think you can go very deep into alignment without obsessing on these details. Rather, study the bones, and we spend a lot of time in this training talking about the bones, the way the bones interact with each other, the way they interact with the joints, and how the entire structure and even the nervous system, Ayurvedic balance, etc., is all affected by these choices we make. So this workshop may challenge some ideas you have in yoga, but I've heard from some teachers, including some who were initially resistant to what I was teaching, that in fact this training has changed how they practice and teach yoga for the better. So I hope you'll consider joining us. This is some of the favorite part of my work, and I really look forward to the chance to share it with you. Hope to see you. Take good care. Namaste.